challenges that we face as a nation as a nation, Nigeria, and we have two guests who will be joining us this morning to extensively look at the development. Last night, yesterday, we were aware of the president's meeting with chiefs of staff. The DSS boss was also there, and then one of the resolution which made headlines this morning is the withdrawal of orderlies from VIPs, and Nigeria's president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has said that any individual, private, who wants security, who wants protection, would have to now work with the NSCDC to be secured, while the police is retrieved from private individuals to provide security for the man on the street, for the basic individual, which is primarily their duty. So we'll look at this conversation this morning, and we have our guests who would be joining us.
Yes, but before bringing them in, I want to remind you of what Chris said while we were having the newspaper review. Chris talked about the fact that it's not the first time we'll hear the president, whether President Bola Tinubu or his predecessors, talk about withdrawal of policemen attached to VIPs. And at that point, you know, it's important to also make a distinction between people who are just VIPs and people who are actually politically exposed people, or people who are political office holders or elected office holders. These are issues. But let's look at all of these issues now. We have our guests joining us this morning. Mr. Lawrence Alobi, retired Commissioner of Police, who was FCT Commissioner of Police, and a lawyer is joining us, besides Mabeam Balasin, who is also a lawyer and a human rights activist. She has pioneered advocacy against killings in southern Kaduna. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Mr. Alobi, good to see you again.
Good to see you. My pleasure. Good to see all of you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. All right, so we're looking at the security state of Nigeria. Only this morning, one of the papers that we reviewed, Abuja Enquirer, says that federal government is overwhelmed, that in the last 2 weeks, we've had about 426 persons kidnapped. Let's get your immediate reactions to this.
Well, it's quite unfortunate. I think for many Nigerians, what is intriguing is that after we had the change of service chiefs, the next thing that we see is an escalation of violence and insecurity. And so for many people, the question is, what is the backstory? What really gave? What is the government doing about it? Because if you're reviewing your security architecture, the idea is that you're revamping so that you can have enhanced security, which is not the case here. With that review, we've had escalation of violence. We've had the nation more traumatized. We had already almost forgotten the situation where we would have our security agents being killed in cameras and children being kidnapped. But here we've had over 303 children kidnapped in Niger, 25 in Kebbi. We've had worshippers killed. It's a whole lot. And in the midst of that also is a trust deficit that exists between the people and the government. So you would hear the government say that they have rescued a particular number of people. And the immediate question is, did they rescue them or did they escape? The likelihood is that those people escaped. But you don't hear the real story, because if the government could swiftly actually get those people, then they really could have prevented those people from being attacked and being kidnapped. But it's a very challenging period, because you must never have a country that does not prioritize the welfare of its children. Children are not just human beings; they are the continuation of our species. They are the hope of our future. It tells on whether we are a country that really cares if we don't take care of the most vulnerable. And the most vulnerable in the lineup of it are children. So this government has a lot to do at this immediate moment to really convince Nigerians that security is a serious matter on its table.
Mr. Alobi, what's your immediate reaction to the news of the release of the worshippers in Eruku in Kwara State, and of course 51 of the missing students of the St. Mary's Catholic School in Niger State?
Yeah, like she was saying, is it actually that they were released or they were rescued and they were released by...
Or ransom was paid?
Or ransom was paid, or the people they escaped, like someone said, like the ones in Niger said they escaped. You see, if they were released and rescued, what has happened to the captors? I mean, were they apprehended? If they were apprehended, what has happened to them? What action has been taken against them? You see, a lot of these conflicting stories, my co-discussant is saying, it's very, very disturbing. And every Nigerian should be concerned about it becoming too embarrassing to not only to the government, security agencies, and we Nigerian citizens as well, because Section 14B provides that the prime purpose of government is security and welfare of the citizens. So the government's primary function, security and welfare of the citizens. And of course, the citizens also have obligation as per Article 24 of the Constitution, which provides that it's constitutional duty of every Nigerian citizen to assist with maintaining law and order. But to my great surprise, most Nigerians are only concerned with their rights, and my human rights colleagues will always emphasize on human right. When they say right, there's always a corresponding obligation. You see, when you are demanding for a right, like Rossio put on his theory of social contract, the government has a duty to provide security. Citizens also have a duty to do certain things to forget their right and also assist the government. Who are the prime beneficiaries of a safe and secure environment? It's the citizens. But the citizens now too that is entertainment mentality, our right. What are our obligations? If we inculcate that culture, that attitude in us from childhood, and then we imbibe it, even those in government, service is the ultimate when you are in position in government. So every Nigerian think about what service can I render? And that is how we know about your obligation to the country, your obligation to your society, your community, your family. But we talk about right. It makes us very parasitic and dependent. So I think it's very disturbing, and it's for concern for all Nigerians. And the government, again, you see, we talk about security, they blame the government. What are for instance now, those who have those schools, the proprietors of those schools, the institutions, the agencies, did they ever consider security challenges of the school before it is being constructed? We just build a school, you don't think about the security implication. The students or the people in the school, are they safe? How can we make sure that they are safe? We don't have the same attitude of dependency only on to the government. We should be.
So when you say that, are citizens supposed to provide security for themselves?
Actually, understand. I quoted from 24 year of the Constitution. From 24 year of the Constitution, we provide that every Nigerian citizen has a duty to assist the government in maintaining law and order. That maintaining law and order is that, one, in terms of information, the government cannot be everywhere. The government has very competing needs: security, education, infrastructure, roads, everything, hospitals, and so health and so forth. So
but I think that we do a disservice. We do a disservice to the Nigerian people if we don't understand.
Can you let him finish?
I didn't interject when you were talking.
Please go ahead, sir.
You see, what I'm saying, we need to tell ourselves the truth. Truthfulness is the foundation of all virtue. The truth is that we are too parasitic. We are too dependency attitude. The Constitution provides us on 24 that every Nigerian citizen has a constitutional role to play in assist security. How do you assist?
But the same Constitution makes it possible that the security of lives and property of a nation is the business of the government.
I agree. What I'm saying, if you suppose the two sections together, you know that security is the responsibility of the citizens, the government, and security agencies.
All right.
But now, that's what I'm saying, that when they want to build a school, for instance, you factor in the security implication of that school. Is it safe? What do we do in case this happens? And then when you build a school, you don't, like today in Nigeria, we have private security agencies. Can they hire private security agents who are well trained and equipped to take care of those schools? Now they depend on the government.
Mr. Alobi, these issues you are raising are digging deeper into a lot of other issues that will definitely extend our conversation beyond even this entire program today. Because when you talk about the relationship between, you mentioned the social contract by Jean-Jacques Rousseau.
Yes.
Now, the contract is simple. We cede our rights to you as government, and you protect us and provide us with certain
And you also have obligations to us.
There are obligations too.
Sure.
But now, the trust deficit is a critical issue. How did we get here? Where she mentioned the trust deficit when she was making her intervention.
The trust deficit is, for instance, one lot of factors. Corruption, for instance. The society is so permeated with corruption. All facets of the society is so corrupt. We are so permeated by power and materialism. No leaders are not there to serve. Everybody can say, what can I get? What can I get? At all levels of our society. All facets of society. So if you get to, if you are there to serve, based on integrity, based on commitment, you build the trust. Because as you dance, you don't see her back. As you walk along it over time, you build that trust. But when you neglect that duty and function, if you think about materialism, how to acquire power, and power for what purpose? To amass wealth and steal and loot. That is the trust. Because the government itself has not been able to live up to responsibility, and the center also have not lived up to responsibility. It is both sides. I won't say that. My emphasis is that the government has a role to play under Section 14 of the Constitution, and the citizens has a duty under Section 24 of the Constitution. They should all juxtapose the constitutional duty of both the citizens, security agencies, and the government. And the government has failed in various ways. For instance, like you can't tell a child to go and fetch water without giving a child a bowl. The police is so ill-equipped. The police is the strength manpower is so depleted. Is understaffed. They say talk about 30,000. 30,000 much. Each local government, how many policemen does it require? It must be based on statistics. It's based on needs, not desires, not want. Needs. What the needs of the police, needs of the military, needs of all the agencies, this is what should be done.
Okay, let's now come to you, Ms. Balasin. I see your eyes are almost, I'm not sure, like you so want to respond to all he's been saying. Let's hear you.
No, I really think that we do a disservice to the Nigerian people if we want to fix the blame at the table of the Nigerian people, because they have clearly done a whole lot. Now, if we talk about even security and citing schools, no school can be cited without government approval, which means that in the design, whether it is a city design or wherever, that all of these actions were taken into consideration by the government before approvals are given. But at such a sensitive time, when parents are sitting and they don't know whether their children will return, we cannot say that the people have failed. I think that we need to understand that it is only in Nigeria that civilians who are not trained have to go to the war front to confront soldiers who daredevil terrorists, that even the Nigerian state have not been able to understand the asymmetric manner in which they fight warfare. But we see civilian JTF showing up over and over again with a high casualty, just trying to protect their spaces. Don't forget, it is still the Nigerian people who have no any kind of social amenities or incentive. There is no light, there is no water, they provide their own security, and yet they come down to this kind of situation. This issue is squarely a question for the government to answer. Let us even look at even the interaction of the Nigerian government with ECOWAS. What's happening with the Sahelian states? And have we met up with our obligations?
Let me interrupt you, because we are drifting away from the conversation for this morning. I'd like us to focus on the security challenges that we face at this moment, and of course zeroing in specifically on whether you want to call it the release or escape or rescue of the worshippers, 38 of them and 51 students at the weekend. And the Kwara State government announced that the release of these people was made possible by the focus of the president in personally coordinating and taking live, real-time reports from the field concerning the operation to release these people. What are your thoughts concerning this?
Well, those security reports would have been available for the prevention of this torture, if that is the case. No one expects that the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will be doing that work, because it's not within his job description. These issues, there are people who have been assigned to take care of it. So who is not doing what? And what is the consequence of not attending to these issues? Now, we're talking about the release of these persons. There are still hundreds of them who are still in the bush. What is going to be the fate of them? You know, there is a certain tragic deja vu that this brings. In 2014, when about 200 and over 200 girls in Chibok were 276 were taken, everybody continued to hope. Till this day, we have over 80 that are yet to return. We don't even want to talk about the collateral damage of lives that have been destroyed beyond repair, because some of these young girls have become mothers to terrorists, and you're going to think about the multiplier effect of what is done. And we have a whole generation of children now who don't even know that this is not the way this country has always been. So let's not have news like this and then we're made to feel like, oh, we need to celebrate that this. Are we glad that they have returned? Yes. Should this have happened? Absolutely no. So the question is, who were those who were supposed to prevent this from happening, and what did they do? And what is government doing to ensure that this does not repeat itself again? Because in the last 1 week, we have had so many casualties that make the country to think, what's going to happen next? And so it is that fear of what's going to happen next that is at the bottom, at the center of the conversation, to say, no, our government is not doing nearly enough.
All right, so we'll continue this conversation, certainly, but it's 8:01 now, my time says, which means that it's supposed to have been Kakaki Social, a minute into Kakaki Social. So we'll come back to this conversation with our two guests after Kakaki Social.
This outcome
of missing students from the St. Mary's Catholic School in neighboring Niger State. Our guests this morning, Mabian Balasin, a lawyer and human rights activist, and Mr. Lawrence Alubi, who retired as Commissioner of Police. He was FCT Commissioner of Police at some point, and he is also a lawyer. Okay, back from the break, I'd like us to pick it up from where we left off. And I'm coming to you now, Mr. Alubi. The rescue of these people, what does it tell you? Because if now the president is back, he's sitting on top of the situation, coordinating the effort to bring back all of these people. Like she said, isn't it possible to use all of these to prevent these things? But let's focus first on the rescue, because we still have quite a number of people in captivity.
Yes, you see, in every operation, there's we have what we call operational order, and chain of command, and chain of communication. Mr. President, the Commander-in-Chief is obligated to get situation report from all sectors, from all security chiefs. They'll have to brief him on daily basis, or hourly basis. That's what I used to do when I was federal operations. And I just to brief Mr. President. So Mr. President is there as Commander-in-Chief. You don't just be an armchair Mr. President or Commander-in-Chief. You have to be to make sure that he follows up. You know, there are two mechanisms which I think he's trying to apply. You know, when you give a command or directive to an officer, what I used to apply, what I call feedback and follow-up mechanism. Now he has given instruction and he has to follow up to ensure that instruction is being applied and being complied or being executed as intended. And also the officers don't have to give a feedback to Mr. Commander-in-Chief. That is the situation, and that is how it should go in all levels of the control. So Mr. President has a duty to actually monitor what is happening. Like I said, also there's what they call chain of command. You have the ground officer who are on the ground. The general commander who also have to monitor and make sure this information is given to the president. And when information is given, like, I don't know, I was told that the governor of Kebbi, that they gave information and that the military were withdrawn after 30 minutes or thereabout. The band is struck.
That was the governor of Kebbi State.
Kebbi State, the band is struck. So it is, because now, if like I said earlier, it's also an operational order. Operational defines the tasks are assigned, defines the mission, the administration, the chain of command, and those who are the rules of engagement, code of conduct. So I don't know who then gave order for those people to be withdrawn. And then the issue of issue of those girls being released or being rescued, it is actually the duty of all security agencies, the police, the military, to ensure that those girls are rescued and brought home safe and alive, and they join their families healthy and hearty.
Okay, Mr. Alobi, someone who is watching us live on YouTube, he says Mr. Lawrence speaks as if he's still in office when they fear that speaking the truth will affect their promotion. Imagine blaming the citizen for insecurities. Is that what you think he's doing?
You see, let me tell you, I've always said, so the constitution is a ground norm. Constitution is to guide both the citizens and the government itself, the institutions, how we should all do things to work in, that is governance, the process of governance. You see, when we keep on saying it is government, I think for me, I'm a citizen, right? I'm not serving, but I'm also obligated to do something as a citizen, whether serving or retired. The citizens should know that they have like in my community, my people, my community, they know I do that. Right now, I have to mobilize and to have vigilante in my community, and I have to provide solar light in all the police stations, in 4 police stations, as a citizen. Well, because I went to my station, I thought that they were using lantern, 21st century. I did that. That's what they should do. We should dare to support security agencies for them to be performed better, and give them that capacity and enablement. When we say, okay, citizens, government, who are the prime beneficiaries? The citizens are the prime beneficiaries. The government, as I said, have very competing needs. That doesn't mean that the citizens should just go and sit down and wait for manna to fall.
Okay,
manna
so
don't fall again.
So that's established. I just wanted you to react to.
Yes, I want to explain that the citizens should also understand that
fantastic.
They have obligation, they have a duty, because you are the prime beneficiary of this secure and safe environment.
Right. So let's come back to you. You were one of those who championed advocacy against killings in southern Kaduna while it lasted. For this development, schools have been closed. Unity schools have been closed. Up to 41 of them have been closed. And there are people who say there should not be boarding schools in areas where insecurity is prone in the first place. So if you are unable to deal with insecurity, you should not gather children from their parents' house, because even their schools are not safe. And then you now take those girls and boys out of their parents' house them somewhere which is not safe. How do you react to this? Do you see this putting a stop to this ugly development of kidnapping in boarding schools?
Well, just to put it clearly, House of Justice intervention is not just in southern Kaduna, it's across the country. Now, when you look at the issue of these schools and the kidnap in boarding houses, you would recall that there were also students who were kidnapped in the university. In Kaduna, there was the Greenfield University where people were kidnapped, where students were kidnapped. There is also the College of Forestry where students were kidnapped as well. In Zamfara, is a daily routine that students are constantly being kidnapped. So, just saying
Up
that
until when?
Even right now it continues.
Okay.
In Zamfara, the institutions in Zamfara continue to have their students being kidnapped on a daily.
Daily.
So this is an ongoing matter. And so just to say that schools, boarding houses should not exist is to trivialize the matter. In any case, in Plateau State, all schools have been shut down. There are a couple of states too that have shut down schools. And in Plateau State, I mean literally including nursery and primary schools and day schools. Okay? So what we need is not to say that schools should just shut down. We need for the full architecture of security to be put in place. Now, what we are dealing with is not a question of capacity, it's a question of will. And 2 issues can be compared with it. In the past few weeks, when we heard rumblings about there going to be a military takeover, before it even came into fruition, it was nipped in the bud, which tells you that this government has capacity to ensure that things don't happen before time. And before now, we didn't have to deal with the large scale of insecurity that we're dealing with right now. You could hear also the governor saying that security was withdrawn and then there was the attack, which was really what happened in 2014 with the Chibok schoolgirls kidnap as well. So the real issue is to ask the question around what is happening, who is giving those orders, and to what end, what is it meant to achieve? Because even if like the former commissioner said, you provide solar lights to police stations, and security is withdrawn, and the terrorists come with their high-powered, what do you call it, armory, solar light is not going to solve your problem. So the real issue is to say that the Nigerian government has to put in a whole lot of work around security. They need to prioritize it more than they prioritize their political ambition. At the moment, what it seems is that there is more effort towards clinching 2027 than there is in protecting human lives, and that is tragic.
Ms. Alubi, a final word here, because we need to go now. Schools are being closed. When you look at the issue of the closure of schools, if you look at it on the one hand, you think, oh, we are safeguarding the lives of these children, and it gives us one less thing to worry about. But if you also look at it on the converse, isn't that what the terrorists want?
Yeah, you see, the certain action we take that some serious implications. The closure of schools indicates some serious implications that maybe terrorists were overwhelmed. The terrorists have conquered. Terrorists the government cannot safeguard the schools, or the school cannot be safeguarded by the proprietors or the school management. So at some time we take some policies are not too palatable, and they don't add value to our security situation, like the so-called repentance of soldiers policy. That is not
repentant terrorist
policy. That is nonsensical as far as I'm concerned. I'm sorry to say that, because it is painful that somebody who killed, you know, he has killed, is a terrorist, and he has that ideology imbibed in him, and he now say bring him back. You know he has killed, he has committed the offense. You bring him back and say now you have repented. Where does that happen? Even in court, the criminal says I'm guilty, makes confession. Do you say does the court say go, you are free? No, there must be consequences for actions. So I think the schools, the issue of government closing school is not too palatable for me as far as I'm concerned. That's some security implications, in the sense that it is showing a signal that the terrorists or bandits have overwhelmed us.
Okay. A quick comment on the issue of political will that Mabiam raised.
Yeah, political will is very, very important. It seems like we have one thing in this country that sentiment. We are so open, we are so engrossed with sentiment. You know, sentiment is like a veil. It becomes a sense of judgment and sense of reasoning. We don't have, because it goes sentiment, economic sentiment, political sentiment. Everything is being, and like I say, it's like a veil. So the government should, Mr. President, to develop a capacity. Everybody at all levels, the leader, for the general police, chief of army staff, defense staff, the director of DSS, they should come on. You know, leadership demands security, demands courage and assertiveness. Conquer fear and stand and say, Mr. President said, this is what I stand for, it must be done. And give a passion on that to all security agencies, and they must all make sure that they deliver as directed.
Thank you very much. That sounds like a good place, even the perfect place to call it a day. Thank you for your insights, and thank you, Mabiam, for coming on the show and for the work that you do with your organization. Everyone, we've been talking about the rescue of abductees in the last 1 week, 51 in Kebbi, and then we had the 38, all of them from Kwara State. And our guests have been retired FCT Commissioner of Police Lawrence Alobi, who is also a lawyer. Another lawyer, female, joined him, Mabiam Balasin, and we've looked at this development. So from this, we would like to introduce our conversation, which the next one would be that on the public lecture